Now this is a treat that we used to always eat. In Switzerland, it's breakfast, lunch, it's dinner. And when we moved to Canada, it was the same thing. We would have it on the ranch. It was just a big treat whenever my mom made this. I call it Swiss Alps Birchermüesli Riley style. Because after we moved to Canada, we changed it a bit. Then I've changed it again. Really, there's so many ways you can make it. So in fact, I'm going to show you that there are different options for making this. Now, it's called Birchermüesli because this first was made at the Bircher-Benner clinic. Dr. Maximilian Bircher-Benner had a clinic in Switzerland. The funny thing is, my mother actually went to that clinic. She was there about the time I was born, shortly after that. And while most people were there to lose weight, my mother was there to put on some weight. She needed to gain some weight. So those of you who have commented, how can you eat all that food and not get fat? Hey, don't hate me for my DNA. It's my mother's fault. That's how it is. It's just, oh, creamy. I make this special way. You don't have to always use whipped cream, but whipped cream, it just, it turns this into like the most delicious thing you could ever imagine. I just love this. Yes. In your mouth, and then all the different flavors. And you got the texture from the oatmeal and the nuts and things like that, and the apples, and really, it's a health food. Hey, let's go in the kitchen and make some right now. To make our Birchermüesli, we have the dry ingredients and the wet ingredients. Now, in this case, I'm making just enough dry ingredients for this batch Birchermüesli, but really, the best thing to do is to multiply this many times, and then you just keep it in airtight containers like jars or something like that, because it's so much easier to make your Birchermüesli anytime you want. You just pour a little bit of that into a bowl and add some wet ingredients. So let's quickly mix together the dry ingredients. We've got 1 cup of oats, or rolled oats. We have a 1/4 cup of, in this case I've got chopped almonds. I also like hazelnuts, but hazelnuts are very hard to get in Japan. So in this case I'm using almonds. Either one is nice. They give a nice crunch to it. A 1/4 cup of walnut pieces. And a 1/4 cup of dried cranberries. Or you could use blueberries, raisins, any kind of dried fruit. It's nice. This just makes a good mixture here. So just kind of mix that together. There we go. Now, what you want to do is add the milk. What we have here is 1 cup of milk. Now the milk, some people like their Birchermüesli nice and soft, so we would add the milk the night before and let it soak overnight. Myself, I like a little bit of texture, so a few minutes before, good enough. Pour in that milk. And the other thing we can add is a little bit of honey. I've got here is 2 tablespoons of honey. Put that in there as a sweetener. You don't really need this, it just depends. Especially if you're using a sweeter dried fruit. I'm using cranberries, which are a bit tart. So this kind of makes a nice balance. All right, so just kind of mix the honey in there. All right, now just let that sit off to one side. What we have here is 1.5 cups of whipping cream, or heavy cream, 35% plus. The heavier the better, actually. You really good heavy whip. I'm using today 46%. If you can get that, fantastic. And let's say 1.5 cups, but hey, 2 cups, 2.5 cups, nobody's judging. The more, the merrier. And then just some fruit, some raw fruit. Now, one of the things that Bircher-Benner Clinic always uses is apples, and we've always used apples too, and they're fantastic. They don't use bananas because, bananas back in the old days, I don't think they even had them in Switzerland. But I like bananas in here just to add a little bit of sweetness. Another thing really nice is if you can get the mandarin oranges, and then you just take the segments and cut them in half and put them in. Done that quite often. A little hard to get in summer. That's more of an autumn thing, so in autumn you can get a hold of those. So we've got 1 apple here. All you're going to do is quarter it, and then you can core it or not core it. In our house, we tend to not really core it. We eat the whole thing, but most people don't really like the crunching on the seeds, so I'm just going to core this one out. And then just take the apple and cut it into a bunch of small wedges. And I take those wedges and just kind of cut across them, so you got a bunch of small pieces like that. Okay, now we got 2 bananas here, so I'm going to move the apple onto here for now. That's not going to fit in that little bowl, so we're going to put it into a bigger bowl afterwards with the whipped cream and everything. Let's put that to one side. Don't want to let them sit too long though, apples do brown quite quickly. So, just gonna, basically the bananas, just gonna cut those. Oh, we got a little brown there, let's get rid of that. And again with those, just now the point with those apples is that the original Bircher-Benner clinic, they actually grated the apples, which is also quite nice. You can grate the apples into it. So really it's up to you whether you want to grate them, or I just chop them, it's a lot easier. You know, get the extra work of cleaning the grater afters and all that. All right, let's put these things aside, because now what we're going to do is we're going to whip up the whipped cream. So I'm going to go and grab, I've got everything sitting good and cold because we want a chilled bowl, chilled beaters, so it whips up faster. All right, so now I've got ice cold beaters, the cold bowl straight out of the fridge. Gonna pour that whipped cream in there, or it's not whipped cream yet. Gonna pour that heavy cream in there, and we're gonna make whipped cream. All right. All right, that's coming up to basically a stiff peak stage is what I want, because it's gonna, we want it good and stiff because you're gonna add a lot of milk and other things into it. So let's just get the extra off there. Who wants to lick the beaters? All right, so now we've got a bowl full of whipped cream here. We're gonna toss in the Birchermüesli. Toss in the apples. In go the bananas. And then all we do is just fold everything in there. And we go, oh, look at that. That's going to be creamy deliciousness. Now we're making this as a summer treat, but this is a treat any time of year. When I was a kid, we used to eat this all the time. It was always a big treat when my mom brought home heavy cream and made us, look at that, just look at that. All right, enjoy this fantastic Swiss Alp Birchermüesli Riley style. Now, if you go to the link appearing on the screen, you can get the free printable recipe for Swiss Alp Birchermüesli Riley style on our website. And don't forget to go check out the kitchen tech and ingredient videos that we also have over on our Patreon feed. So go print out the recipe, have fun making and eating this delicious treat, and make cooking fun again with Kuma's Kitchen.